Hello and welcome to Sports Fan Entertainment, and of course, just minutes after I finish ranking my Titans head coaching candidates, literally minutes, the news comes out that the Titans are finalizing plans to hire Bengals offensive coordinator Brian Callahan to be the franchise's 20th head coach. Wow, you couldn't have written it any better. I knew it was coming this week, but I was like, let me do a candidate list because, by the way, I was in D.C. last week and I got stuck, for those of you that know about the Nashville storms and everything. So I couldn't make a video then and made it back recently, and then I had time tonight. But this is how the cookie crumbles sometimes. We got Brian Callahan, who was number one on my list. So, now, he may not have been number one on your list. Maybe you preferred Mike McDonald, maybe you preferred Bobby Slowick. For me, it was either him or McDonald. And I have just a slight hunch that McDonald might be better down the road, but for us right now, particularly when it comes to the development of Will Levis, Callahan gets the edge, but just barely. I'm going to be monitoring these two very closely moving forward because I'm very anxious to see years moving forward. If McDonald ends up being, and maybe he'll end up being a lot better. Maybe it'll be a disaster. I don't know. Just wondering because, I like to watch these things because it's always just nip and tuck with some of these things. But there you go. Firstly, what I want to say, and most importantly, this is why now, we're going to see how this goes, okay, obviously. But in terms of her process, everyone needs to shut the hell up when it comes to talking about Amy Adams Strunk. Shut your mouth. Shut your mouth. And Ray Carthon, for that matter. Shut up. Because all I heard this week was sensationalism. Why are they talking to Aaron Glenn? Why are they talking to Dan Quinn? Why are they talking to Antonio Pierce? Why? Did it even matter? It's between them and whoever they're talking to. Maybe wasted their time. I don't know. But they said when they fired Mike Vrabel, we're going to do our due diligence. So they set up 11 candidates. Boo-hoo. Wow. I'm going to cry because they want to sit down and have a lunch with Dan Quinn. They want to sit down and have a lunch with me? Hell, it's just a damn lunch. That doesn't mean you're getting hired. Maybe they're just doing you a solid. Maybe they're just trying to pick your brain and be like, what did you do defensively this year? Dan Quinn? Give us a little insight into that. We're not going to hire you. Give us a little insight to that. Do you guys even have an idea that, that happens in these meetings? Let's hear what Dan Quinn, let's hear what Mike McDonald thinks. Let's gather information. Let's do our due diligence. Even though we know, after talking to Brian Callahan, we know we want Brian Callahan. When he comes in here Monday night, we're going to get the damn deal signed, and then we're going to tell Dan Quinn, sorry, we're not going to talk to you again. Thomas Brown, I'm sorry, we're not going to talk to you again. Sorry, Kafka, you didn't get it. Sorry, you guys didn't get it. The only people that be concerned if their time was wasted is them. As you as a fan, relax, okay? You're not in the meetings. You're not in the process. They can interview whoever the hell they want to. I don't care. I care who they hire. So next time we go through this, I don't want to go through a Twitter every day with people going crazy because the Titans are talking to Thomas Brown. Oh my God, they're going to hire Thomas Brown, who might be our next offensive coordinator. Shut up. You look like an idiot. So, they get Brian Callahan. And I like it. And people were already headed towards the idea that it was Callahan or bust. I disagree with that 100%. I don't think it was Callahan or bust at all. But he was my number one candidate. Again, he's been offensive coordinator now with the Bengals for 5 years. If you listen to Zach Taylor and you listen to people around that organization, he has had an integral part in terms of what they do on a play-by-play basis offensively. Yes, it is Zach Taylor that calls the plays. And I know people are obsessed with whoever calls the plays. Callahan, I don't know if he's going to call the plays or not. But whether it's him or whether he delegates, I don't care. Do you know offense? Do you know scheme? That's what's more important to me. Also, you look at the lineage. You look at his father. He comes from the father, Bill Callahan, former head coach of the Raiders. Failed head coach of the Raiders, by the way. But last 5 years has been a fantastic offensive line coach for the Browns. Has been in the NFL now for 20 plus years. Has a lot of coaching experience. Might end up being our offensive coordinator if he wants to come coach with his son. We'll see about that. And it's one of those cases where sometimes the father is so good, the son can't quite live up to the image. Michael Jordan, some of those Bronny James. I know it's early. Come on, he's not going to be LeBron. Not even close. Some of those situations. Other times, you get to pick the brain of your father, who maybe wasn't quite the great coach he could have been, or the great quarterback he could have been, Peyton Manning and his father, or Eli even too. And then that second generation is where things pop off. That's what I also see here, potentially. I think Brian Callahan being able to pick the brain of Bill Callahan that's been in the league for so long. This guy, Callahan, is more ready and proven than Slowick, than Ben Johnson, who, yes, they've done very well offensively the last 2 years, 100%. You don't know if they're ready to be a head coach. Brian Callahan has been around this business. His father's been around this business. He's been offensive coordinator for 5 years, not one. He's ready to be a head coach. Now, I can't tell you if he's going to be great. I can't tell you if he's going to put us over the top. I can't tell you if he's going to win the Super Bowl. You risk a disaster whenever you hire like a Bobby Slowick, because he could be a great offensive mind like Josh McDaniels. If he comes in here and he doesn't know how to be a coach, it's a disaster. And Josh McDaniels has gotten away with that 3 times. One, he never ended up actually coaching for them with Indianapolis. But with the Broncos and with the Raiders, well, he knows scheme so well that he's won these Super Bowls. Let's just hire him. Wait a minute. Can he even lead a locker room? That's why a guy like Antonio Pierce can come in and do a much better job. Callahan is much more prepared to do that than a Slowick or Ben Johnson at this moment. Johnson, what he's doing and some of the concepts, it's interesting. Slowick, same thing. Callahan is the most ready. My only trepidation is that I think Mike Macdonald is about to go win a Super Bowl. And Brian Callahan came very close, by the way. Very, very close. But with Mike Macdonald being the true reason, and Lamar, but yeah, I don't want to discount Lamar, but being a huge reason as to why the Ravens are about to win their Super Bowl, I'm like, I kind of want a McDonald. So we'll see which one ends up winning out, but at least we got a guy here who should help support the development of Will Levis. So that's the good part. He was number 1 on our list. We got number 1 on our list. It's great. And this is, again, because we didn't get to talk to Ben Johnson. He didn't want to. He left us on ghost. He ghosted us like the last girl I talked to. GG. You get ghosted sometimes. It happens. Whatever. You shoot your shot. All right. So that's good and that's fine. I do have concerns that I think people are not quite talking about that need to be discussed. In the entire 5 years with the Bengals, they've not had a good run game. Joe Mixon keeps kind of getting 1,000 yards. And then P. Ryan will come in there and do some things. But it hasn't been good. And I know what you're going to say. You don't need a strong run game to win the Super Bowl. Look at the Rams. Look at the Chiefs last year. Look at the Chiefs whenever they won previously. Sure. I prefer to be able to do it, though. I prefer. Okay? Well, it's been very Burrow dependent and quarterback dependent. This has been good and bad. Because Jake Browning this year played very well. I thought they were dead in the water whenever whenever Joe Burrow got hurt. I was like, there's no way they're getting even up. I didn't think they were going to. They finished 9-8, I believe. Maybe it was 8-9, but I was like, they're going to win 6 games. I was like, yeah, no way. But they ended up 9-8 and winning a number of games down the road. They still could have made the playoffs if they would have upset the Steelers or the Chiefs, but they weren't going to upset the Steelers or the Chiefs. So, but you saw multiple 30-point performances from Jake Browning. Wow, look at Jake Browning. Okay, I'm not going to buy into that. It was all Zach Taylor, Brian Callahan, and what they built in Cincinnati. With that said, I also can't tell you why Burrow gets sacked as much as he does, because he does have some mobility, and why he gets hurt as much as he does. So, it's not a home run in terms of, oh, well, the offense is going to be great now. Because they have been very Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins dependent. With Browning in there and Chase hurt, I think Chase was hurt for maybe even a game or two, they still put up points. So it hasn't been all of that, but they've had some clunkers. Even last year when they went back to the AFC title game, there were some clunkers in there. I can't really explain it, but they have problems with the Browns. They have problems defending Myles Garrett. He's been an absolute, terror for them. But you can't argue with an AFC Championship game appearance or two and a Super Bowl appearance, and they easily could have won it. So that begs the question. Is Will Levis that Joe Burrow? I don't know. Or do we have Jamar Chase? Hell no. And he's probably not Joe Burrow, because when Joe Burrow's healthy, he's a top 5 guy. And look, I have a lot of faith in Will Levis. I don't know if he's going to be top 5. Joe Burrow, Jesus Christ, he had the best collegiate season literally ever. So, in my estimation. So, I won't go that far. But what I do like is I don't think the Bengals have a good GM. I think he's, a great GM. I think he's good. But to this day, and it's been 5 freaking years, or maybe even plus. Let me see whenever this Bengals GM got hired. So the Bengals GM, Duke Tobin. So Duke Tobin has been their GM. Oh, no, he's the director of player personnel. Who's their GM? I guess is it Mike Brown that is their acting president and GM? I suppose so. No. Is it Mike Brown that actually makes the draft? Who makes the Bengals draft picks? I don't even know who's their GM. Hold on. Let me try. I'm trying to find this because this is going to bother me. Let me just look at Bengals front office. It should literally bring me to their page. And then who's listed as GM? Maybe they don't even have one listed. Okay, so they have listed here. Yeah, Mike Brown's their president. Wow, can you guys organize this better? At least by position or something? Jeez Louise. If anyone in the chat could tell me who is the Bengals GM? Who makes their draft picks? I don't even hear about it. I guess it's Duke Tobin, their director of player personnel. They don't have an actual GM. That's interesting. Why do you guys not have a GM? Yeah, the team does not have an official general manager. However, Duke Tobin is often, though incorrectly, referred to as the general manager because he handles the most personnel decisions. Wow, what a front office. You guys think our front office is a damn disaster. Despite that, they keep winning games. What the hell's going on in Cincinnati? Anyway, so Duke Tobin, so he's been the director of player personnel since 1999. Wow, Lord have mercy. And he's the de facto, So he's had some good drafts in over the years. If he's been drafted for them since 99, Jesus, and they haven't given you the GM title, man, bro, you need a promotion. Don't let your employee or your employer F you over like that, man. That's ridiculous. But when I look at the Bengals, I don't know why they still don't have an offensive line. Can anyone explain that to me? I mean, they tried to sign La'el Collins. It didn't work. Orlando Brown was a disaster. Same with him. Jonah Williams, he's leaving. He hasn't been good. And then they have some guys that are okay. But for 5 years, with having Joe Burrow, you're still not fixing the offensive line. Let me tell you something. Rand Carthon, we still have to see a lot, okay, when it comes from Rand Carthon. I don't think he's going to go 5 years without getting one good offensive line. I just don't see that. I don't see that. They have Ted Karras and Alex Kappa. It's a below average offensive line every year. It's a below average tight end position every year. So I'm very curious, even if we don't have Joe Burrow, even if we don't have Jamar Chase, with Rand Carthon as your GM, assuming he's a good GM, and he gets now Brian Callahan better pieces, like a better offensive line, a better running back. Because for me, Mixon's good, but you can get better. You can get better. I don't think he hadn't had one top 5 running back season. He just had a lot of 10-ish, but he's not been a top 5 running back at any point. If you're able to get an offensive line, a tight end, and build around Levis, all of a sudden Brian Callahan might be able to cook a little more. So, despite not having an O-line, they've gone to 2 AFC title games and they've gone to a Super Bowl. So, from that standpoint, that is why I slightly prefer it to Mike Macdonald, just from the developing Will Levis standpoint. If we didn't have Levis, and let's say we had a veteran quarterback, and we wanted to win now, it would have been Mike Macdonald easily for me. I think Mike Macdonald could go somewhere and win right now. If he goes to Seattle, I think they're going to be they see what they do at quarterback. I think they're going to be an 11-plus win team, and I think they're going to continue to be that for 5-plus years. I really think this guy's going to be great. Callahan, we'll see. And I can't wait to see his press conference. I can't wait to see what he does. But considering the fact that Ben Johnson did not want to interview, he was my number one guy. And we got our number one guy. And finally, okay, we got our offensive guy. Everyone wanted an offensive guy, and we got one. So everyone that just was getting crazy, Amy Adams is going to hire a defensive. Amy Adams is crazy. Amy Adams is wasting her time. Amy Adams. She fired Mike Vrabel. She said we're going to do an extensive search. We are now the second team to hire a head coach, next to the team that already knew their head coach. We interviewed, we said we want this guy, and we got this guy. That looks like good ownership to me. If we were waiting around and being like, I don't know who we should hire for 2-3 weeks, I don't know. And in a situation where like Shane Steichen, everyone knew he was going to the Colts. But like, where let's say where the Panthers, I think, are going to end up where like, oh man, no one wants to come here. Oh, there's a problem. Oh God, what are we going to do? Oh no, what's going on? Then I'd be concerned. We interviewed a bunch of candidates. We said, hey, that Callahan, nice resume, looks good. We want our new head coach. Let's bring him in Monday. Let's try to keep all these interviews, keep out of this media that we're interviewing this guy and that guy. And that way everyone thinks that me and Callahan, that we're not that strong. Let's just keep all these interview requests going out there, when we know damn well we want Brian Callahan. She fooled everybody. And I respect it. I love it. What a game. Sherlock Holmes. Miss Amy Adams Strunk. I see you, dog. That was a hell of a game she played. I hope you realize that. That's a game. That's a game. And let these people waste their time getting Bill Belichick as a retread at 72 damn years old. He's going to get on the nearest flight out of there after 2 or 3 years into the Hall of Fame. I'm telling you, in 3-4 years, Bill Belichick going to be so tired of this. Harbaugh, we'll see. But it's only going to be for 4 or 5 years. This is a guy that could be around for 10 plus years. This is a more proven guy than the risk that's involved in a Johnson, involved in a Slowick. We're going to see. But I like it. So I'm going to send a poll in the chat. Simple poll in terms of grade this hire. So I want you guys to grade this hire. What grade would you give the Brian Callahan hire? And I'm not sure when the press conference is scheduled. As of this moment, but we will find out very shortly. And I always forget how to do this. How do I add options? I always forget how to do this. In fact, let me look that up real quick. It should be like a plus or something somewhere. Or can I do it in the... That might be better. Yeah, let me do over here. Yeah, there we go. It doesn't show up on that page, that's why. What grade would you give? By the way, if my camera ever flexes, because when I switch to a new screen, it does that on this new laptop for some reason. Okay, so simple A, B, C, D. We're not gonna do F because I don't think you can give any higher F unless if they hired me. Then it's an F. But I would never give a head coaching higher an F because hey, unless you hire like a felon or something, like who knows? I mean, you'll be surprised some of these coaches how they end up doing. But yeah, you can't give lower than a D. If you give lower than a D, you just hating. You'll look back and be like, okay, Urban Hire is an F. But at the time, you can't be tripping and say, oh, this is an F if I had coaching hire. Now you tripping, you bugging. The last one I felt like that was really, really, really bad was an obviously bad. I thought Josh McDaniels was pretty bad. I knew that was like a D for me because I'm just like, I've seen it. I don't care. He's not going to do well. Like, I don't know how he can do that bad in Denver and you just don't believe it. I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense to me. And then I felt like Reich was lazy last year. I gave it like a C. It's just lazy. Like, he's just old and done. There's a difference between like a Frank Reich, who, this guy's old, he's done. Whereas like a Brian Callahan, who still has some pep in his step and some things to prove. By the way, 39 years old for Brian Callahan. So right in that sweet spot that you look for. So that's nice as well. So very exciting times again in Tennessee, which we love to see. We love to see. So if you want your comment read by the Super Chats, are the easiest way to do it. If not, I'll just answer some random comments. Add me in the chat at Sports Entertainment for a chance to have your comment read, but there is never a guarantee for that. Wow. And again, I will cover any more news on this. It's technically not official yet, but whenever you hear that, they are finalizing a deal, it's done. It's done. All right. Lifelong Gaming. So this is coming from a Bengals fan, so let's take note of this. He says, as a Cincy fan, he's solid. Definitely not an upgrade over Vrabel. Okay. I mean, the outside perception is that we messed up not keeping Vrabel. Okay. The thing I'll keep going back to is I have not seen, despite, okay, and look, I'm guilty of this. This is going to be a great example. Pete Carroll hasn't won a Super Bowl in 10 years. When they traded Russell Wilson, and they said that they were going to go with Drew Lock or Geno Smith as their quarterback, I had the Seahawks going 3-14. I looked at the roster. I said, this is a bad roster. They had a lot of rookies that were unproven. You didn't know what you were going to get. I said they're going 3-14. They went 9-8 and made the playoffs. I looked at this roster this year. I said, this is a bad roster. At least a mediocre roster. They're going to go, at first, before I went stupid in the offseason, I said they're going to go 6-11. They went 6-11. Mike Tomlin. With Kenny, now I've learned with Mike Tomlin, though. But I'll tell you this. A lot of people with Mike Tomlin this year would have looked and said, this isn't a great quarterback. Even with Ben Roethlisberger when he was done, they're going to miss the playoffs or they're not going to have a winning record. They made the playoffs and had a winning record. He's not Tomlin or Carroll. And those are great coaches. Those guys haven't won a Super Bowl in the last 10 years. And he's not even them. So he's now meeting expectations, which is fine. Amy Adams Strunk is making it a point. I want us to be better than I think we should be. We need to be a Super Bowl contender. If you're not making us a Super Bowl contender, you won't be here. You need to do better than what people are expecting you to do. It's a high standard. Don't get me wrong. I'd rather have that. I'd rather have that. Because if the alternative is you'll end up like the Commanders for 4 years and just sticking on to Ron. Just trust Ron's plan. He made the Super Bowl once in 2015. Just trust in Ron. And then 4 years later, all right, get Ron's ass out of here. You can do that because I promise you. And I think he's going to leave and I think he's going to get a job. Especially if the whatever job opens up, Bills. I didn't see what team he goes to. I just think if he was going to win a Super Bowl here, I think he would have done it. I think he had his window, and I think he blew it. And I think while he maybe could have had more impact with the roster, you can't tell me that he's not allowed to bring in faster wide receivers, that he's not able to find any wide receivers, any tight ends, any offense that can help us, that he has no impact on the quarterback position whatsoever. It's only Robinson and Carthon that Vrabel cannot find one tackle in 2 years. You can't tell me that the head coach has that ability. He can't even coach up one tackle in 5 years. He can't do it. Because a lot of these offensive linemen, particularly in the middle, are lower draft picks that are coached up. And then you see his boy, Keith Carter, the Jets hate him. I'm not sure if he's fired yet, but go check the headlines. They hate him. And how long did Vrabel tell you, that's my boy? That's my dog. Todd Downing can't even drive the streets of Nashville sober. How many times did Vrabel have to, defend him before he realized, well, they got to move on? So everyone can keep telling us that we messed up with Vrabel. Look, we had seen enough. It was not like the next year all of a sudden we're going to be a playoff team again. We weren't going to pull the Seattle Seahawks of 2022. We couldn't pull it this year. Why would we pull it next year? It was done. It was stale. The relationship was over. Okay, some of you guys say relationship's too long. Sometimes the relationship is over. Relationship is over. But that's just my thoughts. All right, we have a super chat that came in. Let's get to that. Super chat comes from Philip Maddox. Philip Maddox, in your opinion, is there other candidates? The Titans interview you can see is being hired for coordinators or assistant coaches. Thomas Brown is number one, and that's what everyone's looking at, and that would be awesome. The only threat is he could leave after a year. But Thomas Brown, former assistant head coach to the Rams, this year was offensive coordinator for the Panthers. It did not go well, and that's why he was only number 5 on my list. And I did not want to hire him. But as an offensive coordinator under Callahan, I'd love that duo. But if it goes well this year, he's gone. But it doesn't matter because Callahan's an offensive guy, so you can afford to lose your offensive coordinator when you have an offensive head coach. Just know that's a possibility. Outside of that, Aaron Glenn's either get a head coach position somewhere else or stay. Really, all of them will. Except for maybe David Shaw. Because I don't know what's going on with David Shaw. I don't know what he's doing. I'm pulling up a list right now. So David Shaw, he last coached with with Stanford in 2022. He took a year off. I don't know if he wants to be a coordinator in the NFL. He had a head coaching, or he had an interview with us, but presumptively a head coaching interview with us. Is he trying to be a head coach? No one's going to hire him as a head coach. So he should be offensive coordinator for a year or two. Maybe you bring in David Shaw. I'd be interested. Again, it's Callahan's system, so it doesn't really matter. Outside of that, everyone is either staying. No one's going to take, because Brown may not have a job. I mean, because the Panthers don't have a coach right now. He doesn't know who his next head coach is going to be. But at least he's interviewed with us. He might feel comfort with us. And then, he'll be able to come over here. And then also it's important to note, some potential defensive coordinators for us that are, connected now to Brian Callahan. And we can discuss that in the upcoming days as well, certainly for sure. People already talk about Ejiro Evero, who's the defensive coordinator for the Panthers this year as well, on that team. We'll see. Again, a guy that doesn't have a job right now. And while the Panthers, you certainly can talk trash about their offense, their defense is actually pretty good for the most part. Whenever they're healthy, too. They just have a lot of health issues and problems. And I think Fred Craig was just such a disaster that, it was just such a disaster. But that's it. Dan Quinn is staying, or he's getting a job, but they're not firing him in Dallas. They're just running it back in Dallas. And yeah, that's it. But no one else that we interviewed is going to be a potential hire now. Just Thomas Brown. That's it. Or David Shaw. But I don't know what David Shaw wants. I don't know what he's doing. Thank you for the super chat there. We have another super chat from Michael Rosario. Let's go get Munchak for offensive line coach. And it's possible. Apparently Munchak wants to come back. It sounds great. Let me check real quick. When was the last time he actually was a coach? That's my only concern because, dude, he is in his 60s. So I don't know if maybe he was just on the yak and was just like talking some mess. He's 63. He can keep coaching for another 5+ years. But yeah, the last 2 seasons now, he's been out of the game. Don't love that. But if he wants to hire him, I'm not going to complain. My only problem with Munchak, don't get me wrong, during his era, he was a fantastic offensive line coach. For the Broncos, he was pretty good. But I wonder, is he still keeping up with the times? The new schemes that these offensive linemen are running. Would he be able to do much more of like zone concepts that Callahan would likely do? I don't know. Okay, or is he just still used to like more power run concepts and things like that? That's a huge thing to consider. So I know Mike Munchak is a big name. Is he compatible with Brian Callahan and what he wants to do? I don't know if that's true. So I think people need to consider that. But Bill Callahan, who's the current offensive line coach now, that's his father, who's 67. So he's even older than Munch. So I guess you can't argue Munchak's age if you're going to argue for Bill Callahan. But Bill Callahan's been in the game, he's doing better. So it's interesting, we'll see. But we will absolutely see. And then another thing to note is T. Higgins. So T. Higgins is now an option. We are going to keep our eyes on that. He was always an option. But now his relationship with Brian Callahan, T. Higgins, how you doing? And without a doubt, people, whatever T. Higgins gets paid, I'm 70% sure it's going to be overvalued. But who cares? We have the cap space. I'm down to overpay for 2 free agents this year. Not 3, 4, 5. We don't end up in the John Robinson hellhole down the road. But if you have to overpay for T, because I think he's going to want 25 plus. He's going to want A.J. Brown's contract, which he's had nice seasons. And I guess you could even say Brown and Higgins probably have damn near the same stats after they're leaving because, Higgins has been the number 2 and he's actually been hurt lately, which hasn't been great. But, this year only 656 yards, but he was hurt. And then obviously, with Brownie being in and out of the lineup, that's also something to consider. But, yeah, so he's had essentially like 3,000-yard seasons, exactly like A.J. Brown. Difference, though, A.J. Brown was getting number 1 cornerback coverage, T. Higgins getting definitively number 2. So it's going to be an overpay for T, in my opinion. I don't know if it's a case that T comes here and then explodes like A.J. Brown did. I don't think that's the case. I think you do well. I think he'd get 1,200, 1,300 yards. I don't think he's going to be 1,500, 1,600 like A.J. Brown is now and all-pro. I don't know if he's all-pro. I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think T. Higgins is all-pro. I think he's Pro Bowl. I think he has 1 or 2 Pro Bowls in him. You have to overpay. But I'm fine overpaying for one free agent this year. It opens you up to then comfortably take Olu or Alt and by the way, guys, this is why I say do not tell me in November that, well, we have to tank because there's no way we can get Joe Alt or Olu Fashanu at number 5 or number 6 or number 7. Okay, Olu Fashanu may not go top 10 now. Why do you waste your time in November telling me who's going to go where? If I would have told you in November or early November, but definitely October, if I would have told you in October Jaden Daniels going number 3, you would have thought I was damn crazy. You would have thought I was damn crazy. And now everyone's shocked. Well, Fashanu might not go top 10. Well, who the hell said he was going top 5? Your dumbass in October. Why did you say that in October? We haven't had the combine. We haven't had rumors. We haven't had people are going to smoke weed on a bong and get on Instagram. We've had none of that. And you're telling me that there's no way we can get Olu at 7. That's just stupid. Why do y'all do that in October? We can't get Olu. Whoa, we have to tank for Olu. Now people talk about Fuaga is better than Olu. I mean, I know y'all are obsessed with the draft and everything, but damn. I mean, it's just crazy. But yeah, we have all off season to talk about all that crap, guys. Some of y'all like to get that started on that stuff way too damn early. But we will see. So that's going to do it for me. We'll continue coverage on this throughout the week. I'll keep my candidate video up because, it's up. And I gave great opinions on that. Final results on the poll. I will go ahead and end the poll. So final results on the poll. 55% give Callahan an A. And can I see the results? I can't even see the results of my own poll. That's a little ridiculous, YouTube. It just disappeared. It just literally went off of my screen. Okay, there we go. Poll should have ended. Yeah, it ended up being 55% of people giving Callahan an A, and then I think it was, I didn't get to see it before it disappeared off my screen. I think it was around 30-something% gave it a B for the Brian Callahan hire, and then very low C or D. So at least the people in this chat are a fan. Okay, there we go. Now I can see it. 55% gave it an A, 28% gave it a B, 13% gave it a C, and 2% gave it a D. So in terms of, and really a passing grade is a C technically, but you want to get an A or a B. Combined 55 plus 28, we know math, that is 83% of you said that is that 85? Or 55 plus, where's the other percentages? That doesn't add up. YouTube, you're bugging. 55, 28. I mean, that adds to 83, but then the other one's only 15%. Doesn't make any sense. All right, whatever. 83% of you guys like the hire. I like the hire. Okay? Now, again, with these things, you always have to see. Because I did not like the Vrabel hire. I thought he was a bad offensive coordinator. There's nothing to indicate that he was a good offensive coordinator. Or that he was a good head coach, other than people just saying, he's a leader of men, he's a leader of men, he's a leader of men. I'm like, okay, we'll see. Came in here, he was a great leader of men. For a while. Then he went crazy. So, you never know, guys. But tonight, I will rest well knowing that Brian Callahan is our next head coach. What are your thoughts on the Brian Callahan to Tennessee Titans hire? Comment down below. I want to know. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, comment, and most importantly, to subscribe. Until next time, this has been MJ of Sports Fan Entertainment, and I'm out. See you all later.